So we're about 2 to 3 months away from the 2024 NBA draft, and as it approaches, I'm starting to pay more and more attention to some of the talents the draft has to offer. Tapping in to see who's really next up, because although the upcoming draft seems weaker than some of the ones in recent years, it's still fun to look at prospects and just kind of imagine how they'll eventually impact the NBA. For instance, Kentucky's Rob Dillingham, that man is just too shifty, and I can't wait to see what team is lucky enough to land a pure scorer like him. But on the flip side, there are some prospects whom I feel are somewhat overrated or overhyped when it comes to their NBA potential and how great they can really be. And in this video, we're going to discuss 5 players that fit this description of being overrated. Because whether we like it or not, it's rare you find a draft where a major prospect doesn't fall completely short of their expectations. A recent one that comes to mind is Cam Reddish. He showed flashes of greatness at Duke to the point that he got taken top 10 in 2019. But if we fast forward to present day, due to a combination of injuries and just straight up mediocre play, he's already been on 3 different teams and is simply nowhere near the player scouts believed he could be. So yeah, with that being said, y'all go ahead and let me know in the comments. Are there some players y'all feel are overrated? Why or why not? And yeah, man, really quick before I go any further, what's up YouTube? Plug Speaks back with another video. If you're new, first of all, welcome. Go ahead and sub. Also like the video if you enjoy. I upload quality basketball content and we're on the grind for 5K, so I'd most definitely appreciate it. But back to the vid though. So getting straight to it, first up on this list I got Purdue's Zack Edwards. Yes, the same man that's been tearing up 2024 March Madness and potentially on his way to leading his team to an NCAA title. Listen, what he's done this season is great. He dropped a dominant 40-point double-double 2 games ago versus Tennessee. He began the tournament with a 30-point double-double with 20 rebounds. I mean, stuff like that is ridiculous. So yeah, he deserves his credit. But I won't lie to y'all, his game just doesn't move me. Currently, many NBA mock drafts got him listed around the top 10 and for sure going in the lottery. And although it's not like people are out there saying he's a top 5 pick or anything like that, I think even top 10 is a stretch, because when I watch him play, it looks more like he just mastered the game of college basketball rather than being some NBA ready and great prospect. And it makes sense because, he's a senior, feel me? He stayed all 4 years at Purdue. And I don't highlight that to knock him, but you can definitely see that he's developed within Purdue's system of basketball. Now, standing at 7'4" as a center, he's definitely physically gifted, and that really attracts NBA interest by itself. But when watching him play, y'all can't tell me his game doesn't look super one-dimensional. It's not rare for a big man to have at least a reliable mid-range ability, especially nowadays. But Zack Edwards doesn't possess this or anything beyond that. And then his post game is fairly basic and doesn't really get supplemented by other skills like, being a great playmaker or anything like that. Most of his points come from dunks, hook shots, layups, dominating defenses that obviously don't have the NBA's physicality. So yeah, although he's definitely been hooping this year, nobody can say he hasn't. I personally just don't see him making too much noise in the NBA. But moving on to our next prospect, we got USC's Bronny James. Now, let's be for real for a second. Must I even say much when it comes to this? Because, I'm sure most of us would agree he's overrated or overhyped or maybe both. And obviously, we all know why, being LeBron's son and all that. But man, I really can't help but be amazed at the pull his father really has. If y'all ain't see it the other day, the man announced he's moving on from USC and declaring for the 2024 NBA draft, while also maintaining his college eligibility and entering the transfer portal. Now, honestly, y'all, when I seen this, I couldn't even be fake excited or happy for him, because we all know, don't even lie, we all know that if he were to get picked up by an NBA team after having such an underwhelming year at USC, sheesh, the naysayers would have all the fuel in the world to come against him. And considering the fact that, he averaged just under 5 points on inefficient shooting and clearly did not show an NBA ready skill set. This is not an opinion, it's the truth. So, his doubters, they would be justified. I'm sorry, but they wouldn't even be wrong to say he's only getting picked up because of his daddy. But we gonna leave me going further in depth on that for another video because there's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, Bronny, number 2, no brainer. But moving on to our next prospect, we got Baylor's Jacoby Walter. Now, with all due respect, Jacoby's draft projections of being a potential top 10 pick is one of the main reasons I feel the way I feel about this quote-unquote weak 2024 draft. Because for a 6'5" shooting guard whom scouts believe has a high ceiling to be an elite two-way player, he just didn't appear to be so NBA ready the couple times I watched him this season. Now his averages are solid, 14 points per game and 4 rebounds on inefficient shooting splits, but really it's his ESPN draft notes that confuse me. They list him as someone with impressive shot making and high reliability. Now, I don't know, maybe I was watching the wrong player, but I didn't get that when I seen him play. He even had a stretch this season where he shot around 20% or under for 4 games straight. And some of this was just a result of plain old iffy shot selection. So yeah, overall, he's definitely a solid prospect, but for him to be top 10 in this draft, I mean, it's like, what are we doing? But anyway, next up we got UConn's Donovan King, a 7'2" center who's pretty much just another Zack Edwards, except he's not as dominant, and yet ESPN has him up as a top 5 prospect. Come on now, I get it. March Madness, it may have an effect on this. UConn just made it to the title game and all of that. Spirits are high. But again, the man is basically a watered down Zack Edwards. No BS. Like similar numbers, similar playstyle, similar build. The man is a 7'2" center and struggles to average 8 rebounds. Now, he's only given 22 minutes per game, so we do gotta take that into consideration, but still, it's his ESPN draft notes that throw me off. You see, they describe him as a throwback center, a traditional big, knowing full and well the NBA is moving towards Jokic prototypes, feel me? Like, you don't even gotta be a sniper from 3 for real, but being so one-dimensional as a center is no longer the wave, and when I see a center listed as a top 5 prospect, man, you may not be Victor Wembanyama, you may not be Paolo Banchero, but I'm expecting more than this. I'm expecting more than an Andre Drummond prototype, and that is not the direction the NBA is going in. And therefore, I think Donovan is overrated, but I'll leave it there. Anyway, moving on to the last prospect for this video, I gotta pick on UConn once again because Stephon Castle is another solid prospect whose game just doesn't really move me. You see, he's a 6'6" point guard who's received a lot of credit due to his effort and tenacity, especially since he's been playing fairly well in March Madness. He's been hooping. Many mock drafts got him projected in the middle of the first round. But the reason I'm not really dialed in on his game is because although I believe his potential is through the roof as far as natural instincts and ability to impact the game outside of scoring, at the end of the day, offense, it still matters. And stuff like him shooting 26% from 3 on 2 attempts per game as a guard caused me to feel like he's not NBA ready as of yet. And when I'm seeing credible sources such as Sports Illustrated talking about bro being a lottery talent, it just makes me feel as though he's overrated or overhyped just a little bit because there's definitely questions around his game. I'm not saying that if he were to go pro this year, he'd be a bum, but come on now, the questions around his game must be addressed. But anyway, with that being said, that's all I got for y'all. Y'all let me know what you think of these 5 overrated, overhyped talents in the comments. Add to the list if you want to. Let me know why not. And also let me know which ones you think will age poorly because I always find that really interesting. But yeah, I appreciate y'all watching as always. Like the sub, share it, sub if new, all of that. I'll see y'all in the next one, and I'm out.